So, the world changed a lot since the last episode, but thankfully the layout has as well. Lots of fun scenery updates and experiments are ahead in this layout update, along with some spectacular rolling stock additions. First up is the shrimp restaurant. The deck was a major thing to add to this structure to make it a true seaside restaurant. I used evergreen styrene and car siding for the deck itself. Using a razor saw, I added grain to the boards and even frayed some of the edges of the entire platform using the blades so it looks like an older deck in need of work. I then passed it over to Alexander, who did the proper joists and little offset pieces to capture the look of a real deck, all out of tiny styrene pieces. Then, he handed it back to me, and I added Central Valley railings and the legs with cross-bracing to sit properly into the bay mud. Next, I primed it with Rust-Oleum Camo Khaki Beige. Once that dried, I gave it a wash of dark brown paint and weathering powder mixed together. This gave it an excellent flat, sun-bleached look you see here. Now, you cannot have a seaside restaurant deck without it being absolutely carpet-bombed by birds, now can you? I took a fine spotter's brush and used an off-white paint to dapple some bird crap all over the deck where they'd be landing and begging for food. Then, a few streaks down the railings as well to add that extra touch. You wouldn't believe that the long-suffering owner scrubs the deck every other day. It hardly makes a difference. Now I'll have to make some furniture and benches for the people to enjoy their shrimp. The naming contest was super fun, and I got some great ones. My favorite of the submissions has to be El Barco Camaronero de Jenny, a solid Forrest Gump reference. I also like, I'm going to butcher this, I'm sorry, Milagros con el famoso fricassee de camarones. Pretty good slogan for the place, honestly. Alexander, Jay, and I were spitballing ideas one evening and thought it'd be fun to have some evidence of the previous shrimp place, still on one of the walls while the flashy new neon sign hangs above it. Through some creative translation and a bit of laughing, we came up with Camaronero Frugal, or the Frugal Shrimper, a tough-as-nails working-man seafood place with a revolutionary spin. I came up with the goofy hammer and shrimp logo, and Alexander found some great 20s era constructive type to really sell it. I'll debut the real current name of the tourist trap shrimp place once we finish off the sign. It's definitely going to have a giant plastic shrimp as suggested by one commenter. The highway out front of the restaurant also got paved, and I thought it'd be fun to collect some road construction equipment to add into the mix. Trawling across eBay as I do, I stumble across deals occasionally. Late one evening I spotted these lovely New South Wales Government Railways 620 class DMU motor cars from Eureka Models. I put in a low bid and, well, I managed to get it. It's from a 2013 run and has sound and DCC. This mismatched set, one each of Indian and Tuscan red cars, will be repainted into the unique Alta motor car scheme yet to be developed. That said, I really love the wing design on these. Another fun thing I did was finally get around to rebuilding some of those Walthers 30-foot cabooses into Alta cars. I liked the MDC versions of these, but they're too crude for my tastes, so I upgraded these to Walthers models. They require you to rebuild the underframe by scooting the bolsters inward just 5mm towards the center of the car to allow the trucks to turn freely on curves. Pretty easy work with a razor saw. Then they got stripped in 91% alcohol and then painted up in Alta's charming pale yellow 1927 scheme with orange window trim and oxide red roofs. Then I put some decals on them and sealed it up, adding some light weathering as well before pushing in the flush window glass. I have a second one of these in the works with plans to make a few more. If you have one of these Walthers 30-foot cabooses kicking around in a box somewhere, let me know. The next big thing we're experimenting with is water. Finally, the estuary will come to life. We started adding granite riprap, which was color matched to the nearby mesas. This is made by Arizona Rock and Mineral Company. We also discovered that the beach sand in Guaymas is also an oxide red and not the usual tan you see on most beaches. I mixed up some pigment into the sanded tile grout to match the beach sand there. The riprap went on with full-strength glue, and then I dusted it with tile grout to fill in the gaps before being sprayed with water to activate the grout. Next, I needed to seal the paper-coated foam board I made for the bay, so I glorped on some Mod Podge and made it ripply before leaving it alone for a few days to dry. It actually dried very convincingly like you'd see calm bay water. Atop the layer of Mod Podge, I'm using a mix of fine artist watercolor pigment and acrylic gloss medium. The watercolor pigment is finer than craft acrylic and goes on really nicely. My first experiment with craft acrylic resulted in a Baja Blast-inspired bay. A little bit much. Surprisingly, Taco Bell hasn't reached out for a co-marketing deal. So the next layer was more gloss medium, but this time using the watercolor pigment, which made the spectacular sparkling deep blue. I need to add a touch of green into the next few layers so it matches the beautiful teal color of the real bay in Guaymas. The fun of adding many layers over time is being able to dial in the color just right to match your prototype. Next comes the tidal muck, algae, and lots of mollusks. I'm also slowly filling in the scenery in the town of Esquina now that the main line is fully operational, from the interchange to at the top of the layout, through town, across the bridge, and onto the paved street. Alexander's been working hard making sure the styrene street and station platform look and perform great for the street running. Jay wired in some of the drops for reliability, and it's great to be finally able to run the entire length of the street. And surprise, we mocked up the depot in paper. That way you can really get a feel for this striking modernist depot. Now the scenery on another huge swath of the layout is coming together. Stay tuned for the next installment where hopefully we build more of the brewery, start on the cement plant, and continue adding buildings to Esquina. Thanks as always to my patrons. Every dollar of your support gives me time to spend editing these videos for you to enjoy. Right now, we've got Alta California Railway mugs and tote bags available for patrons. Check them out in the links below. This has been an Urban Era. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time. I took a fine spotter's brush and used an off-white paint to dapple some bird crap all over the deck where they'd be landing and begging for food.
I'm sorry.
Straight up, like, all this beautiful stuff. Bird crap.
We can leave that in as a...